Hi guys, how are you doing today? Hope you are having a drama-free day. So today's first story is about OP's daughter, who is jealous of OP helping her brother and blaming OP for favoritism. Well, our question to answer today is OP's daughter jealous, or is she right and OP really favors his son and his children over OP? Please listen till the end of the story to hear my opinion and leave a comment if you agree with me. Enjoy the stories, guys, and don't forget to like and subscribe. And of course, don't forget to leave a comment. I have two kids, a son who's 35 and a daughter who's 32. My son's wife unfortunately passed away 2.5 years ago, and we were all devastated for my son and their two very young kids, 5 male and 6 female, who just lost their mom. Also, they went from being a 2-income household to a 1-income household and being buried under a pile of bills. While my son sorted out his finances, he moved into a 1-bedroom apartment near his work in the city, and the grandkids came to live with me, about 1.5 hours by commuter train away in the suburbs. He came to stay with us every Friday night through Sunday night before going back to the city for work. They've been living with me for a little over 2 years, and I've covered most of their expenses willingly. My daughter has taken offense to this. She thinks since I'm providing childcare for her brother, I should also do so for her. When she first brought it up a year ago, I gently told her that she was a 2-income, 2-parent household, and she wanted childcare so she could have fun, while her brother had just lost his wife, the children their mother, and he needed the help. Since then, she's complained multiple times about how I play favorites with her brother. I continue to explain that while I love her and her brother equally, her brother's children need my help far more than her children. I still visit, send equally generous gifts to them on birthdays and holidays, and I call them frequently to FaceTime. Recently, my daughter said if I wasn't willing to help with childcare, I should be spending an equal amount of money on her kids. She said inflation is hard, and she is struggling too. Again, I told her I wasn't helping her brother's kids because I had spare money, or because it was for fun, but because they lost their mother and half their family income. In addition, her husband regularly sends money home to his parents in India, so I told her if they can afford to give away money, my help wasn't a necessity, and rather to fund their generosity. That made my daughter extremely angry and said that family helps family, which is what her husband was doing. I tried again to gently explain that if she was struggling, it was her husband's duty to put them first and his extended family second. That went over poorly, and she's been calling me an a-hole, and recently even made a Facebook post on how her brother is the golden child and she's the scapegoat. In turn, my son now feels extremely guilty and has suggested taking his children back to the city to live with him so I could go babysit my daughter's kids. He said he could stretch his budget and get a 2-bedroom apartment to get by. I feel strongly that I am not biased. Had the same tragedy befallen my daughter and the situation been reversed, I would have done the same. However, my son's offer is making me pause. My husband, their father, fully agrees with me on this, so I'm asking Reddit, am I the a-hole, and should I send my son's kids back to him to babysit my daughters? In my opinion, OP's daughter shouldn't expect equal treatment in unequal situations. OP did a good thing standing by his son, and I 100% agree with his reasoning. OP's daughter is being incredibly petty and entitled. As OP said, they can't be struggling that much if her husband is sending money back to his family. But another thing is that OP was helping for 2 years already, so maybe it's time to make some changes and OP's son to make some more effort to be with his family again and be more involved in his kid's life. That Shy Gal 717 says, not the a-hole. The lack of empathy shown by your daughter toward his deceased wife and their children, and her subsequent entitlement towards your money, is ridiculous. She should have rest assured that her parent would aid her in a moment of dire need. XX Catalopex says, not the a-hole. Family helps family? Just not you. You aren't allowed according to her logic, which doesn't make any sense. I think it's great that you are helping your son out with all this during a difficult time. I'm sure you would do the same if something were to happen to her spouse. She seems a bit jealous, like she's not having any compassion for her brother. Perhaps she will just have to be angry. Superb Ad 3821 says, gently, everyone sucks here, and I say that as a widow with 2 children. She is absolutely not entitled to childcare. You're in the clear there. However, it's been 2 years, and the situation has gone from whilst he sorts out his finances to this is life now. If your son was a woman, he would have been expected to learn how to become a single parent, with or without help, and it would be rough sometimes. But that's when you step in if you want to help, either with a night or two so he can sleep, or a loan if you can afford one and he needs it. But the majority of the time, he should be parenting. What you're doing isn't helping, it's taking over. You've allowed your son to turn you into the de facto parental figures. From experience with widows and widowers, I suspect that if he allowed this, he let his wife be primary carer, and now you've helped out by taking over that role. He needs to do it himself, even if it's rough. He needs to learn to parent alone. You're going to need to do a slow transition because it's been 2 years, but it needs to happen. My sister-in-law is pregnant with their first child, and I get pregnancy is hard. But for the last few weeks, she's been lashing out at my brother non-stop, and you can see he looks visibly stressed out now. She's done it in front of our family and her family, but nobody ever defends my brother or says anything to her because they're all excited about the baby, so they're treating her like a queen who can do no wrong. Now, I love my sister-in-law, and we're like sisters since we grew up together, which is why I felt comfortable telling her to stop. I spoke up after she started yelling at my brother for making her into a whale. He kept apologizing to her, and everybody was coddling her and telling her how beautiful she was and how she didn't look big at all. When we were alone, I told her how she was behaving unfairly and treating my brother badly and stressing him out. I thought she took it well since she said she knew, but apparently not, since she started crying to my brother. Everybody is treating me like I'm the devil now for making her cry. My brother told me to stay out of his marriage and to mind my own business because I didn't understand what she's going through, and he said I was causing her stress. I tried to explain that I wasn't trying to hurt her, but I felt like she was being mean, but it hasn't helped the situation. Am I the a-hole? Well, I think that OP did a good job standing up for her brother. Well, he should stand up for himself, but I guess it's hard for him to deal with a pregnant woman. Being pregnant doesn't give people permission to treat others like a-holes. Let's see what the community says. Mr. Chadius says, "Not the a-hole. I've never in my life seen any friends or family of mine who've had children treat their partner like that while pregnant. She is completely out of line, and your family should be ashamed for treating you like that for defending your brother, which they also should be doing. Your brother's spineless for lashing out at you like that." None the wiser says, "As a currently pregnant person, I can tell you that your pregnant sister-in-law is using her hormones as an excuse to be cruel to her husband, and you are not the a-hole for standing up for him. I've had maybe 2 arguments with my husband which were irrational and driven by hormones, but I felt immediate remorse and apologized and made amends. You don't turn into an out-of-control monster when you're pregnant. You just don't. You have moments where you feel overwhelmed and overstimulated, and the easiest option is to lash out, but that still doesn't erase consequences or remorse. Anyway, it was nice of you to speak up. I'm sorry it wasn't appropriately received. Also, all pregnant people have stress. It's a symptom of being alive. Unless she's seriously high risk for something stress-related, you're not going to hurt her or the baby by being honest one time. I've, male 50, got 2 stepsons, who I just call my sons as I've been in their life since they're 8 and 10, and are now young men. My wife and I made it a point to have a great relationship with their dad, Jason, and made sure he had a chance to be around as much as possible, even staying at our place frequently to be around his boys, as he lived over an hour away and couldn't afford to live closer. Jason had a crazy ex-girlfriend who tried to claim they were married, variously saying common law or that they were married in secret, or married on an Indian reservation. But he had a restraining order out against her because she was nuts and had tried various ways to screw up his life. The ex is a horrible person. She had been arrested several times for forgery and fraud. She and Jason had a fiery relationship, but he had it in his head that he should make it work, as he did like her daughters and grandson. But the ex got him sent to prison for violating his probation when he left the country to go to his mom's funeral and hadn't filed an appropriate form. I'm a little unclear on this part, but she played a major role in it. After he got out several months later, she wanted him back, and he wasn't having it. He made a clean break, moved to a new town, but she continued to harass him, thus leading to the restraining order. She would send texts to people, pretending to be police investigating, saying he was drunk driving or taking D, or pretending to be friends and family, to spread rumors and hurt him. She even sent texts to my kids from burner phones, pretending to be other family or friends, saying awful things about their dad. Jason died unexpectedly of a heart attack, and it was a shock to us all. He was finally living in peace, had a great relationship with friends and his sons, and was the happiest he had ever been. He didn't have much. He lived in a single-wide trailer a friend had let him stay in for free, some boxes of tools, old comics, video games, D&D books and modules, mementos from his times in the Marines, and an old 2009 pickup, which on several occasions he had promised my oldest son. Let's call him Paul. Jason didn't have a will, and my wife became the executor of the estate because at the time of death, both the sons were little and sole heirs. We packed up the things out of Jason's trailer and took the truck, which had Jason's name on the title, but had to wait for the death certificate to retitle it in Paul's name. But the ex called Jason's sister demanding the truck, saying it was hers and posting on Facebook she was reporting it as stolen, etc., which really pissed me off. After we got the death certificate, we went to the DMV and found out that she had stolen the title to the truck by forgery, saying she was the only heir and we couldn't transfer the title. My son was driving around with a packet documenting everything in case he was pulled over for driving a stolen vehicle. We had to get a lawyer and start a special process that took several months before a director at the DMV fixed it, and we were able to title the truck with the ex continuing to threaten and cause problems, and made everyone miserable, and cost us several thousand in legal fees. Earlier last year, we got through probate court. The ex never showed, in spite of saying that she was the wife and sole heir. The court declared the boys as the sole heirs, and my wife as executor of the estate in their names. Instead of showing up, the ex sent an email to the court saying she couldn't make it because of work. She doesn't have a job, and that Jason was never around his kids. He didn't miss a single high school football game, home or away, and never missed a home track meet, and that they were just leeching off his SSI for the back child support. She went on with a bunch of other non-relevant crap just to trash my wife and sons, and pretty much said it didn't matter what the judge said, that she should get everything. During this time, we found out that Jason's name was on the deed of X's house. In order to get a reduction in property taxes because of Jason's disabled veteran status, she had filed papers to put him on the deed, but not the mortgage. If she had just left my kids alone, we would have let it go, but she had pushed principal beyond the point of denial, so we filed suit for half the house. Property is worth about $380,000. We went to court-ordered mediation, and she rejected a mediated settlement of a fraction of the value, which we would have taken. In April, her lawyer dropped her, and she got a continuance on the first hearing. She then claimed that she had found a will from Jason designating her as sole heir, in addition to another signed paper that she found as a quitclaim deed from Jason for the house. I did wonder if it was this or her not paying him which caused him to drop her. She was going to go back to probate court to reopen, appeal, probate, and needed time for that, which the judge granted. On Tuesday, finally went to court on the deed to the house. She no-showed. The judge had inquiries to the probate court, and she never filed any papers. The trial lasted less than 10 minutes, as the judge recorded the facts and awarded the estate half the property. They will impanel 3 lawyers to determine how the property will be sold, and she's going to lose her house, and for the first time in her miserable life, face the consequences of her actions. Wow, what a story. Well, you get what you ask for, I guess. She sounds like a horrible person, but I doubt she will leave OP's family alone, so they should get some security cameras. My husband, 55 male, and I have a son who I'll call Logan, 22 male. Logan is engaged to his girlfriend Jenny, 27 female. She was a regular at a grocery store where he worked as a cashier, and Logan asked her out. The age difference and my son's youth, edit, since he's only 22, bothers me, since he could get someone his own age, as he's very handsome. Last weekend, we were flown over by Jenny to her parents' house for dinner to celebrate their engagement. It was obvious that they were from 2 different worlds. While Jenny is a polite girl, she is a money-minded person. She works in a white-collar industry where she literally makes 8 to 9 times more than my husband does. She also has expensive taste. She clearly learned this from her parents. They live in an enormous house and make a lot of money. They had maids. My husband and me are a lot more humble. He's a veteran and works as a mechanic. I'm a stay-at-home mom. We started talking about our children's childhoods. I hate to say it, but Logan was a difficult child to raise. He cried very easily, would always talk about ridiculous things, and lied and hid things. My husband told a story about how Logan failed the ASVAB in high school, but instead of telling the truth, he ran away and hid at the playground. He was 17 at the time. Logan also was not allowed to join the military at 18 because of his low scores, though he was physically fit. Jenny's father said that in Singapore, where they are immigrants from, all men had to join the military for 2 years, and education was important. Jenny made a comment about how Singapore has a narrow definition of success. My husband then joked that the only reason Logan wanted to marry Jenny was because she was rich and smart, and he could coast with her wealth. Edit. Logan told us how he planned to be a stay-at-home husband for Jenny, even though they don't have or want kids. Jenny's parents were furious and immediately began to insult me and my family. Her mom said that they didn't want their only child to marry a dumb gold digger, plus some choice words about our family. I yelled back at her, said my husband was right, and they didn't understand the value of hard work sitting in their chairs all day. And Jenny should have realized that no 22-year-old good-looking boy would want to marry an older woman. She might be ready to settle down, but he isn't. We all left, with Logan and Jenny leaving separately. My son called and asked why I would embarrass him like that. I told him we were being honest. He sounded teary and yelled at me. He said his life was hell because of my husband. I admit my husband was strict, but that was only because of what Logan did. I told Logan that it was his fault, and if he hadn't been the way he is, my husband would have been much laxer, and that Logan would one day thank us for raising him. Edit. Logan is not my husband's biological son. My husband and I married at 30 and 40 when Logan was 7. Well, clearly OP is an a-hole here. In what world is 4 years in age difference of any significance? OP needs to keep her nose out of other people's business. Let's see what the community thinks about the situation. Glitter Sparkle Divine says, anyone else getting an aggression vibe from the stepfather? Most 17-year-olds wouldn't be so terrified to tell their parents about failing something that they run and hide, unless there's some kind of aggression coming on. You're the a-hole. Baffled Mom says, you're the a-hole. How are you the a-hole? Let me count the ways. 1. Started out mocking your son in front of his in-laws. 2. Acting snotty about a successful couple and their successful daughter. Jealous much? 3. Mock your son for wanting to be a stay-at-home husband when you're a stay-at-home wife. 4. Act like your son's girlfriend is a cougar when there's only 5 years difference, when there are 10 years between you and your husband. 5. Doing a lousy job raising your son. That's enough for now. I doubt you'll take any of this to heart anyway. Here's hoping the younger folks work out their issues and have a lovely wedding without you there. Shaw the Panda says, obviously you're the a-hole. In what world is 4 years in age difference of any significance? Keep your nose out of other people's business. Also, your child is 22 now. You aren't a stay-at-home mother anymore, unless you have other younger children.